Good morning, everybody. It's now Monday morning. I'm still without power, and let me just make a note. I'm without power and internet. You say, but John, and I'm not going to complain because there's people without a lot, lost a lot. But I'll tell you, honestly, there have been times, the power provider, the infrastructure, we have a problem in the city. Just honestly in this sense. But there's been times where people have lost, like Flower Bluff, maybe, I'm not sure if there's 13,000 people, something like that, maybe more, that live in this section of Corpus Christi. But there's times where we lose power for days, and it was nothing. Even one of the local weathermen said the other week, talking about preparation, he said, don't forget, one time we had one gust of wind that was like 70, and it put power out for like a week. So we do really have and when I say infrastructure, there will be businesses that will now wrap it up. There's some people I know that have businesses, and when we had some water boils, the last few years, the history of Corpus, we had some problems with our water, and so it made it to national news, those who followed it, and we had a couple of water boil things, meaning you can't use the water. I drink it, I use it, I'm drinking all the water now, but when you do the water boil, you have to boil the water to use it. What happens at that time is like the McDonald's and Whataburger, all the restaurants are not serving any drinks, coffee shops. And because we had that problem in the last few years, which they're trying to correct those things, it did, really put businesses in a bind. And I think you'll have some that this will be it. And, of course, some cities that our infrastructure and all, look, I showed you some of the damage. We escaped really the majority of it. But because we do have problems, there was just recently in the news, there was a company that was going to build, maybe some refining company. We have, companies from Germany and different places that relocate to this area. And they were going to do a lot of jobs. And then it came out, actually, they're going to have to provide maybe half the jobs and move one of the things they were going to build somewhere else because they didn't have the skilled labor. And just overall, I feel like we're kind of maybe, we're a big city with 350,000, and when we talk economy and people want things to boom, you have to have infrastructure, and it's not just this, but the few things I just mentioned. I just read Psalms 60 in candlelight, but I'm now in my back room where I can read it. The Psalms and Isaiah, both, whenever I read them in order, this is the one that I came to next. It's funny, I didn't know if I'd read it because of how I changed some of the, personalized it, maybe a few years ago. I'll read it real quick. O God, thou hast cast us off. Thou hast scattered us. Thou hast been displeased. O turn thyself to us again. My last video I talked about recognizing who we have sinned against in general, personally, and in the society. When David, the psalmist, said, against thee, thee only have I sinned. There's got to be recognition, because many are indeed praying. I just saw some sad stories on the world news on my TV antenna. Many are praying and all that, and we're all assisting and praying. But the beginning of it is, God, thou hast cast us off. See, that's what I was saying. Thou hast made the earth to tremble. Thou hast broken it. Heal the breaches thereof, for it shaketh. You first recognize that maybe we as a society, many of us justify shock and awe. Shock and awe was the tactic we used to coined by Donald Rumsfeld when we went into Iraq. And shock and awe was such a military hit on a country that it would have the whole population in shock and awe. And many would die and many would be killed. And that was a man-made shock and awe. And many Christians in this country think, great, yes, we showed them. And many of those same Christians, if you were to say, this psalm says, God is the one who shook us. God showed us shock and awe. Many of those same Christians and preachers would refuse to accept that. And according to this psalm, that hinders healing of the breaches. Thou hast showed thy people hard things. You have showed your people hard things. Thou hast made us to drink the wine of astonishment. And the next verse is one I quote. I have it up here as a matter of fact. Thou hast given a banner to them that fear thee, that it may be displayed because of the truth. Because of the truth. Meaning God's not just giving you a venue, a forum, ministry, preaching, church is not just some platform where a speaking gift can be used. God has given you a voice to speak truth more than any other thing. That thy beloved may be delivered, say with thy right hand, and hear me. God hath spoken in his holiness. I will rejoice. Now, I'm not sure what the next word is, because I wrote, I will divide corpus. Now, I wrote that many years ago, I'm sure. I don't remember when. And I will mete out the valley, and look, I put Flower Bluff, dealing with a lot of the issues I dealt with. Gilead is mine, Manasseh is mine, Ephraim also is the strength of mine head. Judah is my lawgiver. Moab is my washpot. I talked about Moab in the last chapter of Isaiah, I think yesterday. Over Edom will I cast out my shoe. Philistia, triumph thou because of me. Who will bring me into the strong city? Who will lead me into Edom? Wilt not thou, O God, which hast cast us off? And thou, O God, which didst not go out with our armies, which you did not go out with our armies, give us help from trouble, for vain is the help of man. Through God we shall do valiantly, because it is he that shall tread down our enemies. Now I'm hoping this is it. If I was able, I'm going to see if my daughter has internet. My daughter Bethany, power came on when I was at her house yesterday. And if she has internet, I'm going to upload all these YouTubes, and I feel like I'm stuck in this because the system I normally have when I do like a rollout is make a video, then write and post, then I get to the teaching one. But because I've been unable to do that, I'm still like here on Monday. But the thing with that psalm was recognition, self-examination. Why did I mention the shock and awe? Many of us feel that it's okay for a human society or a human government to do much of what we've seen, and even more, on decisions based upon political decisions. Yeah, we think it's okay maybe to go to some other place in military involvement, to wreak havoc, for entire cities to be decimated. And sometimes we did it as, well, we made a mistake. And we still don't even question it. And yet the disaster and the lives lost in some of those decisions are so much more. So displacement, many of the refugees crisis going on for the past few years, really a result of instability that took place because of some of our actions. And these people are in a crisis. The Christian church in Iraq is been decimated. And that was a Christian church that went back all the way, many hundreds and hundreds of years. It's an ancient Christian church, the early part of the first millennium. And so displacement and all of that stuff that we're now experiencing because of a hurricane. And if I had internet, I would add all the verses that talk about God's judgments seen in natural disasters. And there's so many of them. But that psalm, it said, first we recognize, thou hast done this. Then we are in a position to say, heal, restore. There are many people that we preach to in society, and we tell them, and many preachers will say, first you must repent and believe, which is true. And you wouldn't tell those people, good old boys out partying, drinking, no. You wouldn't say, oh yeah, you'd be okay. No, you would say, first you got to acknowledge that there was wrongdoing and sin, whether it's individual sin or corporate, as a people, as a community, as a nation. Then you can say, we're going to receive restoration. Okay? So, let me see what happens. This is 11 minutes. These are still the winds from Harvey. They were a little stronger earlier. This was that'll be the one for today. Read that. That's Psalms 60. There was a few other news notes. I hate to end like with this. NPR radio. I've tried to catch their various news stations on AM and FM I listen to. And thankfully there's one, AM 740, out of Houston. And the sheriff, I spoke about the lady sheriff I mentioned, she's on again today. I think she might have, be retired, but they're doing good coverage. And the local community of Corpus Christi has to try and find some of those radio stations because ours, many of ours are shut down here. The normal news stations, there's 3 or 4, and they're all shut down. But NPR News, which is live news, they're covering it, and I thought, oh good, NPR is back on. Here it's FM 90.3. So I figured I listen to liberal as well as conservative. And they're talking about, I said, I'll catch something on the storm. Something real. Lives being lost. Cover it. And then they went to the bird thing. They do something about it. What particular endangered bird? And they had the bird chirping, and then they gave the story about the bird, and they spent maybe 5 minutes, and I thought, if the world, NPR News is very liberal, and I said, and you gave 5 minutes to some endangered bird, you put this chirping on, and they do things. And look, I know NPR gets criticized because of being liberal, and indeed they are. But that's not just being liberal, that's being ignorant. That's being ignorant. There's a few people here in South Texas that are trying, because TV and power and all these things are out. And some are trying to access some of these sources through Facebook, but they're limited resources. And you spend 5 minutes on the birds. Okay, so I bless you guys. We'll begin with this. I don't want to do a whole lot more because I'm building up too many videos. Let me do that. The Lord bless thee and keep thee. The Lord make his face shine upon thee and be gracious unto thee. The Lord lift up his countenance upon thee and give thee peace.